What's the challenges then moving from being, I guess, the traditional DBA into data engineering?
It's a good question. Yeah, as a DBA, I don't want to say upskilling, but it's learning those new skills. So like you may be learning Scala if you're working a lot with Spark. Obviously now the Python SDK is a lot better. So Python, Scala, I'd say a lot of these new database technologies. So Redshift might be a little bit different as a DBA. So learning how to use Redshift rather than Postgres, using Spark, we touched on earlier. Streaming technologies can be a lot different. And then orchestrators, so Airflow, things of that nature.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different orchestrators out there as well. And then, yeah, there's the whole modern data stack, which is used to varying degrees at different companies. So there's DBT, Fivetran, all those lots of different complicated things there.
Mhm.
And then also the whole BI and visualization world of things. How Tableau, QuickSight, Looker, just getting familiar with how to connect and how to really tie it back to the business. That's that last
Mhm.
mile of how do the actual business users, whether they're, I work with a lot of PMs or salespeople, how do they look at this data and how do they make sense of it? So those are just a lot more modern tools.
Yeah. So there's a lot more to know.
Yes.
Yeah, and learn.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's always evolving. Like new things coming out all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like we had this trend a few years ago and it's resurfaced with all the LLM models coming out, but
Mm.
it's every quarterly earnings call you hear, they're talking about data analytics. They're talking about now it's ChatGPT. I remember, I think this was like 6+ years ago. They were just ML, whatever. Everything had to be ML. So yeah, companies are investing in this. They're expecting that investment is going to bring a return, and that just brings with it different SLAs of maybe it was okay before. And I think this comes from two sides. I think one, the technology has improved, so our expectations of what we get out of that technology is a lot better. And then on the other side, the business is demanding more performant data operations.
Mm.
So both of those can meet, and we're getting SLAs on data sets, and we're getting weekly reporting on big data sets where 10+ years ago, that wouldn't be possible. Maybe these
Mm.
data sets 10 years ago would only be used for strategic data science projects where we'd be looking back maybe once a quarter and doing this kind of longer range, kind of deep dive analysis. Now we're doing that basically every day, every week. So the expectation, the goalposts have shifted.
Mm. And I guess you mentioned earlier, like, as in this, the data engineering roles gets close to the business. I guess you've got to be able to communicate to the business then in different business units, because obviously everyone's not going to be tech savvy. You've got to
Yeah.
be able to communicate that in a non-techie way. That's obviously translates in a understandable manner for the business people.
Yeah. You can imagine there's a lot of times where if a data set is late, you have to say to a business person who was just trying to, let's say, deliver a sales model, or they're trying to do their job and they don't understand why the data is not there, why it's not ready. And the expectations they might have could be software development of why is this app not up? Why is the website, or sorry, like in the software world, the app is always up, the website is always working. We're talking 4 or 5 nines of availability, but then you go to the data world and you have a different experience a lot of the time of the data sets are late or they're wrong or there's more work to be done oftentimes. And that can often just be, yeah, we touched on this, but it's harder to ensure data accuracy on large data sets.
Mm.
You get in a terabyte of new data, and how do you audit it and sanitize and reform all that data and ensure that it's exactly what you expected? Maybe you can validate, I don't know, the rows sums are different or the deviance from last week, but maybe the data set is more skewed than last week, or there's some kurtosis, or who knows what could happen. But it's really hard to validate all of the expectations that you have of a data set without kind of listing each and every one of them, which can be it's not unsolvable, but it's a very hard business problem to upfront say, well, here's a data set. Let's list out every single thing we're assuming. I've had instances in a business where one of those assumptions was that the data set wouldn't be null or would largely have valid values. A whole model was built, and then after a year of development, turns out 80% of the values were null, and no one thought to check that. And then a lot of that work was wasted.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
hard with you can't just open that data
Yeah.
set in Excel and look at it. You can look at samples, but the sample obviously doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's bigger the business, obviously, the more challenges as well, isn't it? Like, obviously, the more
Yeah.
data, and this, so you can't just go on one data set, like you mentioned. Is
Yeah.
cool.
Data cataloging. How do you know like what data sets you even have? I can say that's a problem that on various teams where we run into this of we have 2 or more of the same data set, or the same data set with a different column or slightly different filter. And it's because team C and team D weren't talking. They don't even know each other. They might sit in different offices, and trying to get all of that to be surfaced and make it really clear to everyone. So data dictionaries, data cataloging, data lineage, all of those things are, there's more and more tools out there, but driving adoption can be hard.